The mimosas were bottomless, but my patience wasn't. We were sitting at the kind of Manhattan brunch spot where a single piece of toast costs more than an hour of my work, and my sister Neria was holding court. She was talking about the Swiss Alps trip, the one we'd been planning as a family for 6 months. Her perfectly manicured hand fluttered as she described the chalet's aesthetic, rustic chic, whatever that means. My parents, Patricia and Timothy, were nodding along, already mentally packing their designer ski gear. And then Neria turned to me, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. "Oh, Catherine," she said, as if remembering I was there. "About the trip. We've been talking, and we think it's best if you sit this one out." I blinked. "Excuse me. It's just the vibe," she continued, waving a hand vaguely. "This trip is going to be huge for my brand. We're shooting a lot of content, partnering with some luxury labels. And honestly, you're just a little too boring for the aesthetic we're going for. You wouldn't fit the brand image." My father didn't look up from his phone. My mother took a long sip of her mimosa, staring out the window. And Eduardo, Neria's husband, just smirked into his coffee like he'd just heard the punchline to a private joke. "Boring," I repeated, my voice flat. "Exactly," Neria said, relieved I wasn't making a scene. "You'd just be uncomfortable. It's better for everyone. Better for everyone." Just like that, I was erased. Cut out of the family portrait because I didn't filter my life enough. Before we go any further, I have to ask, have you ever been excluded from something by your own family just because you didn't fit the image? Drop a yes in the comments if you know exactly how that feels. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I didn't flip the table, though the urge was there, a physical ache in my chest. I just finished my coffee, paid my share of the bill, because of course I did, and walked out. The cold New York air hit my face, sharp and clarifying. I took a cab back to my quiet, boring apartment, sat down at my quiet, boring desk and opened my laptop. They called me boring. They called me the fixer, the reliable one, the background character. But in my line of work, being boring is a superpower. I'm a financial forensic analyst. I track money for a living. I find the secrets people hide in ledgers and spreadsheets. And for the last decade, I had been the silent spine holding this family upright. Neria was the golden child, the influencer, the star. But stars burn fuel, and I was the one paying for the gas. I pulled up my personal finance records. Not the family's shared drive. My own private tracking. It was time to review the ledger. The numbers stared back at me, black and white and undeniable. $15,000 paid to a consultant to settle Eduardo's failed crypto startup debts before they went to court. $22,000 over 3 years, covering the minimum payments on Neria's maxed-out credit cards, so her credit score wouldn't tank and ruin her luxury lifestyle brand deals. $8,000 for my mother's essential cosmetic procedures. And the big one, the Aspen Lodge, the renovation loan. I remembered the day they asked me to sign. "It's just a formality, Catherine," my father had said. "We need a co-signer with stable income. It's for the family legacy." Legacy. I scrolled to the loan documents. I had co-signed a $250,000 loan for renovations to turn the old family cabin into a luxury winter retreat. I paid the down payment. I paid the first year of installments when Neria said her sponsorship checks were delayed. I had poured nearly $100,000 of my own money into a property I was now apparently too boring to visit. I sat there in the silence of my apartment, and for the first time, I didn't feel the usual pull of obligation. You know that feeling? The heavy, suffocating weight of duty. It's a trap. It's the trap of normalized cruelty. You spend so long being the one who fixes things, the one who says, "It's okay." The one who swallows the hurt to keep the peace, that the abuse stops looking like abuse. Just looks like Tuesday. You start to believe that your role is to be the foundation, to be stepped on so others can stand tall. They frame your sacrifice as love, as loyalty. "That's just Catherine," they say. "She's so dependable." But dependable is just a polite word for used. I had let them normalize my own erasure. I had let them convince me that my money was theirs, that my credit score was a family resource, that my stability existed solely to subsidize their chaos. I looked at the spreadsheet. This wasn't love. This was a subscription service, and they had just canceled my access while expecting me to keep paying the bill. My phone buzzed. Text from Eduardo. Hey Kay. Since you're not coming to the Alps, can you wire $5,000 to the lodge account? We need to cover some emergency maintenance before the winter season really kicks off. Thanks. I stared at the screen. The audacity wasn't surprising anymore. It was clinical. It was a data point. They excluded me at brunch, and hours later they were asking for money. They didn't see a sister or a daughter. They saw an ATM. I didn't reply. I didn't get angry. Got to work. I opened a new tab and logged into the county clerk's office for Pitkin County, Colorado. I needed to see the deed. I needed to see the lien status. I needed to see exactly what maintenance cost $5,000. I wasn't the boring sister anymore. I was the auditor. And the audit had just begun. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. Just dug. The glow of my monitor was the only light in my apartment as I sifted through years of property records, tax filings, and loan documents. Neria and Eduardo weren't just irresponsible. They were sloppy. And in my line of work, sloppy is a gift. I found the first crack in their facade around 3 a.m. A lien notice from the county, dated 6 months ago. Unpaid property taxes. $75,000 in back taxes and fines. But that wasn't the smoking gun. The smoking gun was buried in the fine print of the renovation loan deed I had co-signed 4 years ago. I remembered my father pressing the pen into my hand, telling me it was just standard legal jargon. I had trusted him. I had trusted them. But I had also insisted on one small clause, a safety net my lawyer friend had suggested at the time. A default reversion clause. If the primary occupants, Neria and Eduardo, failed to make payments for 6 consecutive months, or if the property incurred liens exceeding 10% of its value, full legal ownership would revert to the guarantor. Me. I checked the payment history. For 8 months. They hadn't paid a dime on the mortgage. They hadn't paid the taxes. And they had hidden the notices. According to the county clerk's database, the deed transfer had been automatically triggered 2 months ago. The paperwork was filed. The title was in my name. Solely in my name. I stared at the screen, feeling a strange, cold calm wash over me. I wasn't just the co-signer anymore. I was the owner. The landlord. And my tenants were delinquent. But there was more. I pulled up the utility records. Spikes in electricity usage at odd hours. Massive water consumption. Noise complaints filed with the local sheriff's department. And then I found it. A permit application for a private social club that had been denied 3 times. Eduardo wasn't just doing maintenance. He was running something commercial out of a residential property. Something loud. Something expensive. I checked my bank account. I had enough for a last-minute flight to Aspen and a rental car. It would wipe out my savings again, but this was different. This wasn't an investment in them. It was an investment in the end of them. I booked the ticket for 6 a.m. I packed a bag. Not ski gear, just warm clothes and my laptop. I wasn't going there to ski. I was going there to inspect my asset. As I zipped up my suitcase, my phone buzzed again. Neria. A video notification. I opened Instagram. There she was, posing in front of a snow-covered chalet, holding a glass of champagne. So grateful for this getaway, the caption read. Surrounding myself with people who match my energy. No negativity allowed. She blew a kiss to the camera. Behind her, I saw my parents laughing. I saw Eduardo raising a toast. They looked so happy, so carefree. Living in my house, spending money they didn't have, celebrating my exclusion. I liked the video. Then I turned off my phone, grabbed my coat and walked out the door. The avalanche was coming and I was bringing it with me. The flight was bumpy, turbulence shaking the plane as we descended into the Rockies, but my hands were steady. I landed in Aspen just as a snowstorm was picking up intensity. The air was thin and biting, smelling of pine and expensive fireplace smoke. I rented a 4-wheel drive, threw my bag in the back, and started the drive up the mountain. The roads were slick, visibility dropping with every mile, but I knew the way. I had paid for the driveway to be paved, after all. I pulled up to the lodge an hour later. It was blazing with light. Every window was illuminated, casting long yellow rectangles onto the snow. It looked beautiful. It looked expensive. It looked like a lie. I parked down the road, hidden by a cluster of evergreens, and walked the rest of the way. The snow crunched under my boots. The wind whipped my hair across my face. I reached the front door and pulled out my key. The old key. The one they thought was useless. I slid it into the lock. Turned. Smooth, silent, perfect. I pushed the door open and stepped inside. The warmth hit me first, then the smell, cigar smoke, expensive cologne, and the metallic tang of adrenaline. The renovations were impressive. The rustic living room I remembered was gone. In its place was a high-end casino floor. Professional poker tables with green felt tops were scattered across the open space. A roulette wheel spun in the corner. A fully stocked bar manned by a bartender in a vest took up the far wall. And the people, men in suits, women in cocktail dresses, stacks of chips in front of them. This wasn't a family vacation home. It was an illegal gambling den. High stakes, unlicensed. A federal crime happening in my living room. Eduardo was standing by the roulette wheel, laughing, a drink in his hand. He looked up as the cold air from the open door swept into the room. His smile faltered. The room went quiet as heads turned. "Catherine," he said, his voice cracking. "What are you doing here?" I didn't answer. I just pulled out my phone and snapped a photo. Then another. Then a video, panning across the tables, the chips, the faces of the stunned guests. "I'm just checking on my investment, Eduardo," I said, my voice cutting through the silence. "And it looks like business is booming." The silence in the lodge was heavier than the snow piling up outside. Eduardo's face had gone from shock to a pale, sickly white. "Catherine, wait," he stammered, putting his hands up as if to physically block the reality of my presence. "This isn't what it looks like. Just a private party. For friends. Friends who pay buy-ins." I asked, gesturing to the cashier cage set up in the corner. "Friends who need a bouncer at the door." I walked past him, my boots leaving wet prints on the expensive hardwood. I headed straight for the office, the one room that used to be my father's study. I knew Eduardo. He was reckless, but he kept records. Gamblers always keep records. I found the ledger in the top drawer, right where I expected it to be. But underneath the ledger was something else. Contract. Purchase agreement. Pulled it out. It was a pre-sale agreement for the lodge. The buyer was a shell company I recognized from my fraud investigations. A developer known for buying distressed properties for cash, no questions asked. The sale price was $2.5 million. And the seller listed Miria. My sister had signed a contract to sell my house. The closing date was set for next week. I flipped to the addendum. The proceeds were to be wired directly to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands. They weren't just gambling illegally. They were planning to liquidate the asset, steal the equity, and vanish before the deed transfer could be contested. They were going to sell the roof over my head to cover their losses and leave me with nothing but the debt. The realization didn't make me angry. Made me cold. A deep, glacial cold that settled in my bones. This was the final severance. The last tether of familial obligation snapping. I took photos of every page. I took the ledger. I took the hard drive sitting on the desk. Then I walked back out to the main floor. The guests were starting to leave, sensing the shift in atmosphere. Eduardo was on his phone, whispering frantically. "They're coming back," he hissed at me as I approached. "Niria and your parents. They caught an earlier flight because of the storm. They'll be here in an hour." "Good," I said. "I'll wait." I sat down in one of the plush leather armchairs by the fire, placed the evidence on the table in front of me, and poured myself a drink from their illegal bar. "You might want to clear the room, Eduardo. The owners are having a meeting." An hour later, the front door burst open. Neria swept in, fur coat covered in snow, looking every inch the Snow Queen. "Eduardo, why are the guests leaving?" "I saw cars driving down the..." She stopped dead when she saw me. Her eyes darted from me to Eduardo, then to the empty casino tables. My parents followed her in, shaking off snow, looking confused. "Catherine?" my mother asked, her voice shrill. "What are you doing here? Who let you in?" "I let myself in," I said, holding up my key. "It is my house after all." "Don't be ridiculous," Neria snapped, marching over. "Get out. You're ruining the vibe. We have a victory party to host." "Victory?" "Yes. You mean the sale. The one where you sell a property you don't own to pay off your husband's gambling debts." Neria froze, color draining from her face. My parents stared between us, confused. "What sale?" my father asked. "What is she talking about?" "Nothing," Neria screeched. "She's lying, just jealous." I didn't argue. I slid the contract across the table. "Read it, Dad. She forged your signature as a witness." His hands shook as he read. He looked at the casino tables, then at Eduardo, who couldn't meet his eyes. "A gambling ring," he whispered. "You turned our family home into a casino." "It's not a home, Timothy," Eduardo snapped. "It's an asset. And we needed money. Do you know what it costs to keep up appearances for your daughter's brand?" "Enough," I said. "Understood. Here's the situation. I own this house. The deed reverted to me 6 months ago when you defaulted. I have the foreclosure papers." I dropped a folder on the table. "I also have a drafted FBI report about the illegal gambling operation and attempted real estate fraud." I looked at my sister. "You aren't a mogul. You're fraud. Your accounts are empty, your credit is ruined, and without my signature you're homeless." Neria grabbed our mother's arm, sobbing. "Mom, tell her. She can't kick us out." My mother's eyes filled. "Catherine, it's snowing. Where will they go?" "I am being reasonable," I said. "You get a choice. Option A. Leave now, get in your car, never contact me again. Option B. I press send to the FBI, and you leave in handcuffs." Check my watch. 5 minutes. The fire crackled. Wind slammed the windows. Neria looked at Eduardo. Eduardo looked at the door. They finally understood they were powerless. "Let's go," Eduardo muttered, grabbing his coat. They packed in a panic. My parents stood by the door, stunned. "Are you coming?" "Ask them. Or staying with people who stole from you?" My father looked at the contract, then at Neria. He let the pages fall. "We'll drive them to a hotel," he said, voice wrecked. "But we're done paying for this." At the threshold, Neria turned back, hatred raw. "I hope you freeze here alone." "I won't," I said. "I have a fire." I locked the door. The click of the deadbolt felt like a lifetime ending. The casino tables sat abandoned, glasses half full, but the noise was gone. I tossed the contract into the flames and watched it curl into ash. The silence that followed wasn't emptiness. It was ownership. 6 months later, I sold the lodge to a Silicon Valley CEO for $2.8 million. After clearing the mortgage, taxes, and legal mess, a clean 7-figure remainder hit my account. It isn't a family emergency fund. It's my freedom. I haven't spoken to Neria since. Her luxury brand collapsed. It's hard to play rich while renting in New Jersey and fighting bankruptcy. My parents sent one long letter about forgiveness. I shredded it. Efficient. People say you can't choose your family. That's how parasites stay fed. Family is a title you earn through respect and reciprocity. Cutting off toxicity isn't breaking the family. It's an amputation to save the body. It hurts, then you heal whole. They called me cold. But coldness isn't emptiness. It's preservation. Stops rot. By freezing them out, I kept myself alive. My brand now is solvency, peace, survival. And business is booming.